Farming, Part 1. People in the early times obtained food by hunting animals and collecting edible plants, giving rise to the term hunter gatherer. Through time, people started to live in settled communities and grow their own food. And this was the beginning of farming. To plant crops, early people used plows, which cut a series of long lines in the soil called furrows, into which seed was then thrown. However, the seeds were not always planted at the correct depth or distance from each other to ensure maximum growth. Seeds were also vulnerable to being eaten by birds or blown away by the wind. A major breakthrough came with the invention of seed drills, devices which spaced the seeds early at the ideal depth. There was the invention of seeds drills. Those were the devices which spaced the seeds evenly and the ideal depth as needed for farming. This meant that seeds were not wasted and fewer grew into plants too early. A later development involved a tool called flail, which separated the grain from the outer husk. Once the crops had been gathered, this was successful but very labor intensive. Growing the same crop in the same place for many years gradually removes the nutrients from the soil. Crop rotation was practiced by the farmers in some countries. 5,000 years ago, this is the practice of growing one type of crop in each field in one season and then changing to another the next. Although the farmers may not have been understood the chemistry, they understood the results. Over time, the practice of leaving land empty and fallow or evolved, which meant letting it rest and recover every few years by not planting crops on it at all. The Industrial Revolution advanced farming methods by introducing mechanical agriculture, that is, agriculture powered by machines, for example, tractor. These replaced many jobs previously performed by manual labor. Working animals such as horses and oxen. Perhaps the most important development came with the invention of combine harvester, a versatile and ingenious vehicle which combines harvesting operations. It reaps the crops such as wheat and maize, separates the grain and combines the leftover straw into bales for animal feed or plows it back into the soil as fertilizer. Well, there were hunters and gatherers, and they were the gypsies, in fact. They moved from one place to another. They didn't settle permanently. But when farming was introduced, agriculture was introduced, it resulted into settlements, and these settlements are called the villages. The villages came into being, and along the villages were the farmlands, agriculture. And with the agriculture, we had livestock. So there was buffaloes, cows, goats, providing milk, providing poultry, and providing all sources of income for those people. In fact, a new horizon was introduced to humanity to sustain them. We'll talk more about the same in Farming Part 2.